Hello, you are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 45. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and today's show is part 2 of Josh's big Disney trip with his family. Listen to hear all about the second half of their Disney portion of this vacation and their final thoughts on the trip. This show is sponsored by Trolley Lane Travel, an authorized Disney travel agency. Disney just released that their 2023 vacation packages will open June 8th for booking. If you're interested in booking a 2023 Disney vacation, then I would love to help you. See the show notes for a form so you can get on my waitlist. I am ready to get this vacation planned for you. If you have any questions about a Disney vacation, like what's the best time to visit Disney, a good fit resort for you and your family, anything, I would love to help, so send me an email at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com. If you're on Instagram, you can find Disney Travel Tales there. This is a great way to connect and just to stay up to date with what's going on with the show and to see pictures from our guests on their trips. Okay, so let's get going. Imagine yourself getting that perfect spot to watch Harmonious in Epcot, and let's go.
All right, so our third day was Epcot Day. So this was Thursday the 12th. Weather this day started feeling hotter, and was really the first day where the heat seemed to start getting to us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it wasn't too bad. I think it was more just the humidity started going up a little bit this day. Crowds through the morning felt fairly light, but then after 2, I think, with the park hoppers started coming in and it started feeling more crowded.
Mm-hmm.
So this day, again, woke up at 6:30. Again, was kind of the usual for the first few days of waking up pretty early, which my wife and oldest son were not too happy about because they prefer to sleep in.
Yeah.
It seems like I wake up no matter what time I go to bed. I'm always waking up between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, so I was used to it.
Yeah.
Decided not to purchase Genie Plus this day, and ended up being kind of nice not having it for the whole trip. We saved some money on a few days not getting the Genie Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Using the DAS, kind of realized like we don't really need it for these other days. So we left the room at 7 to take the Skyliner to Epcot, and then we walked over to the boardwalk for a 7:40 breakfast reservation at Trattoria Al Forno. It was very nice in there. Unfortunately, they have not brought the characters back at this restaurant, but just this was one of the options where it looked like it was very convenient to get to this restaurant before, and being close to the park and transportation and everything. Tristan had ordered the breakfast pizza and really liked it. He finished all but one slice because the server had told him nobody ever finishes this, so he was determined to try to finish it, and he was going to try to eat the last slice before we stopped and was like, you're going to be feeling it later if you finish this whole thing. Marissa had gotten pancakes with the strawberry sauce with it, and she really loved them. Dylan had just got the Mickey waffles, and I was excited for the tiramisu French toast, and I really loved that.
That sounds delicious.
So that was really good, and it was very nice in there. The decor, even like the place had a really nice smell because they had like the open wood fire grills and stuff in there. So even at breakfast time, like it still smelled really nice in there.
That's awesome.
And it was really nice seeing the boardwalk. One thing I tried to do a bit with this was to get restaurants at different resorts so we could see different parts of the resort and different areas, experience different things, and not just like do everything in the parks. So kind of spread it out a bit and kind of see as much as we could see for our trip. So it was nice seeing the boardwalk and that area. So then we finished eating up and walked back over to Epcot at 8:40. And as soon as we walked in, did a DAS for Remy's. I wasn't aware of it before the trip until after we got there because of like the advanced selections, but that you can use the DAS system for even like the individual Lightning Lane rides as well.
Oh, interesting.
So, like I said, the other day I had paid for Rise, not realizing that I could use the DAS for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I spent the money when we didn't have to, but I think if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gotten on everything that day anyway, so it was still okay.
Yeah.
So that was a 30-minute return time for that. So we kind of just stuck around the France area, waiting for that ride and just kind of exploring the France area. We walked in at 9:11 and pretty much just walked right on. And I was not really like expecting much out of this ride. Marissa and Tristan liked the Ratatouille movie. I didn't really get into it much. But I was really pleasantly surprised with the ride. I ended up liking it. Dylan was kind of afraid of it a bit, especially like there's one part where it's kind of dark and like you see like all the rats' eyes popping up from all around, and he got scared with all the eyes in that. So I guess if you have any little kids that might get scared by that, forewarning. So after that, we walked towards World Nature because at this point, again, we were trying to like not have to like make laps around Epcot multiple times. So we were trying to figure out like how to do it by coming off the International Gateway. Like you're kind of in the middle of the showcase, and we didn't really want to do the showcase yet because we had just ate a big breakfast. So, you know, this was kind of my wife's day. Like this was the food and you know, sights day for her. And, you know, it kind of warned the kids, like, there aren't too many rides here. I don't want to hear you complaining. Just enjoy, like, walking around.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be a ride stage, so just kind of tried to give them that expectation for the day that this isn't, you know, a day for riding rides. And they were really good about it through the day, like, not complaining about not getting to do the things they wanted to do, so...
That's
I was
great.
going for that. But yeah, so like we want to start off with the World Showcase since we had just had the big breakfast. And what are the countries? Canada and England that are between France and the front part weren't quite open yet anyway. So we kind of just breezed through there. We started off with the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival at 10:20. We watched that. That was nice. The first one was very funny. There was 3 different shorts that we watched. Then we headed over to the Land Pavilion and did Soarin'. Had did a dance for that. Did the rider switch. Marissa and Tristan went on first. It was a 40-minute posted standby. It took about 40 minutes for the 4 of us to be able to go through with the rider switch. I was like kind of hoping, like thinking this was going to be something I really liked, and probably just because of where I got seated, we were like at the very bottom corner, so it was a very warped view of it. So I was like, but it was funny after I got off, like Marissa and I kind of agreed, like the smell of the ride was our favorite part.
Yeah.
Like it smelled awesome in there.
The smells they pump in are so good.
It was just so funny, like when we went over the Eiffel Tower, it was just like, it looked like it was just curved just from where we were sitting.
Yeah.
It was funny looking. So I was a little disappointed with that, but it was okay. Another thing that was just, you know, on a checklist that we wanted to do. See, after that, We did Living with the Land. Um, that was nice, and Marissa enjoyed it. It was nice knowing like that they grow their own food and then use that food at the park. Um, Tristan was bored by it. I kind of figured he would be.
Mm-hmm.
um, After that, we headed towards Mexico and went through Mexico, Norway, and China. Kind of explored those areas. Each country, we really wanted to make it a point to like not just walk through the main path, but to really go into the countries and see what they have. So while we were in that area, had booked a DAS for Frozen. Well, we booked it after Living with the Land. It wasn't a ride that any of us cared to do, but I figured, get us a break, get us an AC for a little bit, because none of us are really Frozen fans.
Yeah.
But Marissa ended up really liking the ride. I think that the whatever it was called before, the
Maelstrom.
Yeah. I think that was there when we went. Because afterwards, talking to my parents, they're like, "Oh yeah, we did that when it wasn't Frozen though; it was something else when we were there."
So supposedly the ride's the same; they just changed the scenery.
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, I remember a water ride, and I remember there being like a drop in it or something. So it's to me, it's fun, just like reminiscing and talking with my parents, like from a trip that was so long ago.
Yeah.
That how much has changed and what they remember and stuff. So,
yeah, that is fun.
Yeah, we did the Frozen, got in there at 125. Posted wait was 75 minutes, and we waited less than 5. I still didn't think it was worth the hype and the crazy wait times that it has. Maybe it's just because Epcot has so little is probably why.
I think that's why. Yep.
After that, we went over to the pyramid in Mexico and went inside there. It is very beautiful inside there. Very crowded though, like really squeezing through people inside there. We did the Three Caballeros ride, and then from a cart, we had gotten corned beef hash and the Fruit Loops shake. So Marissa and the boys liked the shake. I liked the corned beef. Then we had our advanced dash for Test Track at 2:30. It was a posted 1 hour wait. So Marissa and Tristan went on first, and I took Dylan into the building in the AC to try to get him to take a nap. So we were kind of like waiting in the exit area by the cars that were in there. After like quite a while, I got a text saying that they were on the ride, but the ride had stopped only a few seconds after they got in.
Oh no.
And the lights came on. And then about 10 minutes later, I got another text that they got through the ride a little bit more, but then it stopped again and the lights came on. And I guess Test Track was also down the first like 3 hours of the day as well.
Oh,
so I guess it was having a bunch of issues that day.
Yeah.
So they finally got through it and were able to finish the ride, but it was probably almost 45, 50 minutes that it took for them to go through. So at least that gave Dylan a good long nap in the AC, because we weren't really planning to go back to the resort this day because it was our only Epcot day. So, even though it was Skyliner, we figured this was the plan anyway, was just to try to get him to stroller nap. So it was nice that it was in the AC and not like out in the sun while he was napping. So I just kind of like sat on the floor against the wall while he was asleep waiting for them. So then they came off and went back on with Tristan. This was another ride that I was excited for because I remember like being one of my favorite things when I was there, and it was like brand new, but I did not realize that they had like refurbished or like changed it up a bit. So like we get in the ride, I'm like, oh cool, like the whole design car things Tristan was really into, like he really liked that. I was like, oh, this is new. And we start riding, I'm like, this is not what I remember, like the whole like indoor part of it. And to me, I felt like the way it used to be was better. It was still like the same, but not the same.
Yeah.
I guess it's just, updated for kids these days now, I guess, with everything. So Tristan really liked it, but I think I liked it the way it was before. The outside part's always fun, though.
Yes, it goes like it always catches me by surprise how fast we go.
Yeah. It took an hour and a half for all of us to get through that ride, so
crazy.
It took a big chunk of our afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Headed up, did Spaceship Earth, and I was kind of surprised that Tristan did like this ride, if you call it a ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
He kept talking, I want to do the thing inside the big ball, and I was like, I'm telling you, it's not a ride. Like, it's just like a moving show.
Yeah, it's like a museum.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
So, all right. It's fine. And he ended up really liking it. He is into space and he's into history a bit and stuff and learning about things. So he really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I, of course, really like the burning Rome smell. All about the smells.
Yep.
Spent some more time enjoying the rest of the countries and food. I had ordered from Regal Eagle Smokehouse because I love barbecue food. I'm not an adventurous eater, so like a lot of these countries, like looking at this stuff, it's like not for me. But she wanted to try something from everywhere, so her and Tristan got into that. I just stuck with what I know and I love.
Yeah.
But that ended up becoming one of the more memorable parts of our trip. While we were sitting there eating, my 3-year-old, I don't know how 2 introverts gave birth to somebody who is such an extrovert and center of attention. But he starts dancing and everything, like he loves pulling in a crowd, and so he's just like dancing while we're eating and like getting people to like watch him and laugh at him and stuff.
That's so cute. And
I don't know where he learned, like he starts twerking, like where he just bends over and starts shaking his butt. It's like, where did you learn this? It's hilarious. And this worker that was there just to clean up the tables, like this was another one that I ended up giving a compliment to, because like I sat down and I had gotten what sides? One of the sides I got with my meal was the house-made pickles.
Mm-hmm.
And for some strange reason, I love pickles, but I absolutely hate cucumber. And these pickles still tasted like cucumber, and so I just mentioned it to my wife, and she overheard, and she was like, "Oh, do you want me to go get you something else?" I was like, "Oh, no, that's okay." She's like, "No, let me go get you something else then. What do you want?" "Oh, give me the baked beans." So she comes out and brought baked beans and like a bunch more cornbread and stuff. And, she was there while my wife had gone to use the bathroom, and like she was there just helping with my son when he kept trying to take off on me and stuff. And she just spent some time with us talking and everything and was very friendly. And so that's just another one of those moments where it's like Disney, these people that work for them care about their job and care about making everyone's trip feel special in some way if they can. So
absolutely, it's really different, especially if you travel a lot and you go to different places. It's just different at Disney. Like they really want your trip to be perfect. And you definitely don't get that everywhere you go.
Yeah. So we finished off the night doing the Harmonious, and we loved it. Like, we thought it was way better than the Magic Kingdom fireworks, and which was a kind of a shock, because it was always the thing that it seemed like I heard was the Epcot one was not very good, and the Magic Kingdom one was really good. So to us, it felt the other way around, and I would say this was probably the most special part of the entire vacation, was watching my kids watch this show, and like they both just had their mouths dropped the whole time, and like my son was like leaning over the fence, like acting like he was conductor and everything,
cute.
and just seeing the joy on the kid's face made the entire trip worth it.
That's awesome. Where did y'all stand to watch these fireworks?
We were kind of between America and Italy.
Okay, so y'all had a good view of the center circle?
Yeah.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah. We kind of asked around like different spots to watch, and two of the spots that we were told like was already kind of filled up, because this was at like 8:30 when we started trying to find a spot, because we had noticed like people were already starting to line up along the fences. So all right, let's find us a spot, and you know, this was shortly after we had ate there at Regal Eagle, so we just found that spot where we could get the boys right up to the fence. There was no trees or anything else in the way, and had a good view of two of the screens on either side of the center one there, so it was a really good spot. Would have liked to have been closer to the Skyliner to make a quick exit afterwards, but so it wasn't too bad. Like the line looked terrible. Like after the show, like when we got over there, it wrapped all the way back to the bridge heading over to the boardwalk. But again, you know, the Skyliner just kind of moves pretty consistently. It was about 20 minutes that it took waiting in line to get back on the Skyliner. So it was only 20 minutes, but it looked really bad. So.
Yeah.
And after a long day, it was kind of rough, but
yes,
wasn't so bad.
Getting home is the worst part.
That's like the longest Skyliner ride, too, going from Epcot down to the Art of Animation, because you go through Riviera transfer and then go over, so it was a lot longer of a ride than just Hollywood Studios, but still beat the bus.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, the bus would have taken way longer.
So that was our day there. We got back and kind of just showered and went to bed.
Y'all are having such a great trip so far. And it sounds like honestly, it sounds like you're almost like a seasoned traveler with some of the choices that you've made. I always tell people, I think one of my favorite things to do at Disney is to go see the other resorts. And a lot of people will only do park stuff, and I feel like they're missing out on so much of what Disney offers, because most of the good food is at the resorts, not at the parks.
Yeah. I really took over like all the planning and everything else. That's not something my wife likes doing at all. And again, I listen to podcasts all the time. I'm on my own delivering my route 7 hours a day. That's all I do is like have my earbuds in and listen. So I was listening to a lot of Disney podcasts, getting information left and right on. It definitely helped. Like I feel like if I had gone into this without researching and preparing, like it would have been a lot different of a trip.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on to your fourth day. What park did y'all visit?
So our fourth day was Friday the 13th.
Oh, spooky.
This was a half resort day, half Magic Kingdom day. So this day we got to sleep in, and weather-wise was slowly getting hotter again. By the time we got to the park, crowds weren't too bad. But we slept in, had breakfast. This was because we had planned on going around and checking out the rest of the resort that first day, but since everything was ready when we got there, we didn't get to do that. So This was when we, checked out the car section and the Lion King and taking pictures. Got in the pool for a while. They still ended up taking a nap. I'm not a nap person, and I try, but I usually don't. But my wife and the 3-year-old still ended up taking a nap. And we left for Magic Kingdom at 2 o'clock. And I ended up purchasing Genie Plus for this day, even though it was a half day, and I really didn't need to, and I feel like I didn't even use it, so it was kind of a waste of the money for it this day. But I did when I purchased it before we left, because I didn't even bother with trying to do the stacking or anything, because usually with Magic Kingdom, the times don't really back up until later in the day, except for maybe Jungle Cruise, but once was enough for that for us. So I didn't purchase it until we were about ready to head out. So I started with the Buzz Lightyear since we didn't get to do that the other day. And then after getting to the park and scanning in, I did a dash for Space Mountain again, since they really liked that. We wanted to do it again. Went over and did the Carousel of Progress. I enjoy that ride, show. I don't know which
attraction.
Way to call it. Attraction.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how Tristan. I think he just said he liked it. It wasn't. He was so on it, I guess. Marissa enjoyed it. Did the Buzz Lightyear, and the plan was to do this ride the first day and do Buzz Lightyear before doing Toy Story Mania. So it wouldn't be oh. But this was new when I went before, and I remember loving it. It's still fun, but definitely Toy Story Mania blows this kind of out of the water.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of funny having two similar style rides that are also both Toy Story themed. You would think maybe by now they'd kind of do something else with this Buzz Lightyear ride, but
it's and to me it doesn't fit in over there. I mean, I know Space and Buzz, but he should be in Toy Story Land, not at Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
It's just kind of random.
Yeah. So is the building across from that, is that still empty then? That I remember that used to be some alien thing when we were there.
Yeah, so there's nothing there. It was an alien encounter, and then they changed it to a Stitch-themed alien encounter, but it scared people too bad, so they kind of just got rid of it.
I remember my dad getting a kick out of dragging us in there and scaring us.
That ride was scary. I rode it twice when it was open, and it scared me both times.
Because I'm this whole building, and I don't think there's any. This must be. I think it was something, but there's nothing in this big building here.
Yep.
So we did Space Mountain again. Booked Winnie the Pooh for $4.55 to $5.55. The Space Mountain. Then booked a dash for $7. And then we made our way over to our 4 o'clock dinner reservation for Be Our Guest. So we waited a little bit to get our table, and we got sat in the West Wing. This was something that just happened to be on there one of the days that I was just kind of browsing, looking at availability, and it was on there, so I grabbed it. And it's all right, well, we'll keep this. We were kind of hoping to get the Space 220, and said if we had gotten the Space 220, then we would drop this, but we never got the Space 220. So we kept this. We kind of heard this is one of those, just like Cinderella's, that it's worth a shot once, but you're going there for the experience, not so much the food.
Yep.
Which definitely turned out to be so. None of us were really too happy with the food. Very, very expensive for what it was. But it was kind of cool, again, so happened to be in the West Wing where it's darker and lightning and all that. So the whole meal, my 3-year-old, we thought was going to be scared, but he ended up right after we ordered our food clocking out and fell asleep.
Well, at least y'all got to sit in the good room. That's the best room to sit in at the restaurant.
Yeah, not quite as loud as the middle room,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the other room is not really anything to it.
No, that's
on the
where
other
we
side.
sat, and it's just totally boring.
Yeah, it was cool, like when the lightning would flash and the picture would change,
Yeah.
and you had the rose there and everything. So, yeah, so Dylan fell asleep, so his meal just got boxed up.
Yeah.
Another great laugh was during this meal, though. So when the Beast came around, and so we were like sat like right along the edge of like the center where he'll walk up and down through.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tristan was turned around and like waving to him, and he came up to him and held his hand out like flat for like an elegant, proper handshake. But my son did not know that that's what he was doing, and he had a piece of his roll in his hand, and so when he put his hand out, he thought the Beast was asking for his food.
Oh, that's
He
funny.
placed his roll in the Beast's hand.
Oh my gosh, that's
He
funny.
looks down, just like shakes his head, like, "What are you doing?" He turned around and walked away, and like let the bread fall on the ground.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like so embarrassed. But then the like server came over, and she's like, "Yeah, everyone that saw that like told everyone else, and it made all of our day."
That's
That
awesome.
he gave him his bread. And my
That's so
son
funny.
swore up and down, "You are not to tell anyone that." I didn't know what he was doing.
Oh, that's really funny. I mean, from a kid's perspective, I could see that.
Yeah, we got a good laugh after a little bit. It was like, all right, this is going to be one of those memories.
Yeah, for sure.
So the meal lasted a little bit longer than we thought, so we missed Winnie the Pooh. And then we had our advanced selections for both Peter Pan and Little Mermaid, so we did those. I believe I remember doing Peter Pan. That's a good classic ride.
Mhm.
Another thing that I don't understand the long waits for, I don't know if it's just the lower like ride capacity for it or what, but I mean, it's fun. Dylan really liked it, feeling like he was flying and everything. Because, leading up to it, of course, was like movie cramming for 3 months of trying to get in like all this stuff that I know like they have rides for and everything. So it was like pushing their memories. We stopped at Gaston Tavern for the cinnamon rolls and to try the LeFou's brew. I think maybe just because dinner wasn't such a hit, like the four of us annihilated the cinnamon roll in like less than a minute.
That's a good cinnamon roll.
A giant cinnamon roll too, and we just devoured it. I liked the LeFou's brew. The rest of them not so much, but I liked it. We got a Genie Plus for PhilharMagic and was very surprised with this show. It ended up being, I think, our favorite show of the entire trip. Even my 3-year-old really liked it. Got good laughs out of it and everything, just put smiles on all of our faces.
It's such a great show. I think people miss it though, because it's kind of over in Fantasyland where there's some bigger named things. And so they kind of just, oh, that's just a show. But yeah, we love that show too.
Yeah, this was like, because it was a half day, and like I said, like we really focused mostly on that left side still that first day, even though we did hit up a little bit in Tomorrowland. The only thing that we had touched so far before this point in Fantasy was the Seven Dwarfs. So this whole like afternoon, evening was just deep dive into Fantasyland.
Mm-hmm.
After that, did a Genie Plus for Small World and tortured us all on that. I think, again, that's like one of those you either hate it or love it things.
Yes, there's no in between.
I remember as a kid, like my mom tortured us, like writing it 2 or 3 times. And I hated it as a kid. And I promised, like, my family, like, I will not make you go through this. But I was like, you know what? Like, it's here. It's a classic. Maybe one of them will like it. So I was like, let's just do it because we're right across from it. Yeah. everyone except Dylan hated it, but Dylan loved it.
That's so funny.
As soon as we got off, he wanted to do it again. And
Aww.
Right. Like, I love you, but not that much. No.
Yeah, seriously. No, the ride's like really great for their like first minute, and then it just is the same.
My wife was like, I'm not going to sleep tonight, right? Because, like, if I do, I'm going to have nightmares, or the song's going to be stuck in my head. I might as well just, like, stand awake all night.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
So then I booked a Genie Plus for Splash Mountain for between 8:40 and 9:40 because for some reason that ride escaped us the first day, and that was one of my must-do rides. So I was like, all right, even though we're in Fantasyland, I'm hitting up Splash Mountain. And my wife was like, no, it's going to be dark, and I don't want to ride this. Like, I want to ride it in the afternoon when it's hot. I was like, it doesn't have to be, like, I want to get on this.
Yeah.
So I booked it anyway, and then we headed over to do that DAS for the Seven Dwarves. Wasn't quite dark out yet this time, so it was still light out. Still enjoyed it. I think we liked it better at night though.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the most fun roller coaster that we could do that Dylan could ride with us. So we enjoyed it for the second time, and then the second time we also got on our Memory Maker like a little video clip of us on it too.
Oh,
so that was pretty.
cute.
It's like a short like slow-mo video of like 3 or 4 seconds going down one of the hills, so that was kind of cool.
That's fun.
Rode Mad Tea Party, grabbed some more snacks, and then headed over to like that kind of back area and did Barnstormer with a 5-minute wait. At this point, for the first time while we were there, was some rain kind of heading in. On the radar was showing a storm was coming, and could see like the dark clouds coming in and feel the temperature change. It was like, oh, this is going to be probably a heavy one. So after we had got off Barnstormer, we were like debating like, do we want to try to leave, see like what it looks like? Because it looked like it wasn't going to be one of the quick little spotty ones. It looked like it was going to be coming down for a while. So it's like, I don't know, like showing some yellow. Didn't look like it'd be too heavy. Do we want to wait it out? Do we want to start heading for the exit? It's like, no, like it's still early. We've got a couple more hours left. We want to get finished up. So they went over to do Dumbo, and I was like, I don't want to ride it. Like, the 3 of you can go ride it. I'll start pulling out, like, the ponchos and stroller cover and everything, and rechecked, like, the weather app, and it was like, oh, no, like, this is coming down. And, like, I started seeing some flashes of lightning and stuff, and they were just about to get on the ride. So I'm, like, waving my arms, like, get back over here. Like, we need to get going now. So they didn't ride it, came over, got on our ponchos, and it came down in buckets, like, just as we were trying to get close to the castle, heading towards the exit. And so then we were fighting through all the mass crowd that was huddled there at the HUD for the fireworks, because this was, like, 8:55. So everyone was, like, sticking it out there for the fireworks, and we were trying to get through all the people to get through while it was coming down. So that was a pretty miserable trying to get out of the park. It was a long line for the buses, of course, because it's storming and it's like right there at, at the end of the day. However, like there was some extra long buses that came. It seemed like they like sent out like extra buses or whatever. I don't know if they normally do that like during rainstorms or at the end of the day or anything. And there was also like the big coach buses too, like the one that we had for the Sunshine Flyer, and we ended up getting on one of those. And it was right after like one of the long buses came through that they crammed everyone in. So we got like in a half-filled coach bus in the nice, comfortable seats.
That's so nice.
Drive back to the resort.
It's like jackpot.
So, that was nice. So that we got back at like 9:40 and just kind of called it a day. To try to do a load in the dryer for our shoes and everything.
Yeah.
but that was about it for the night.
That was smart to leave, though, with the rain, because sometimes people will try to stick it out, and sometimes that rain just never stops. So then you're just stuck there in the rain.
Yeah, I was, prepared for like the afternoon, like spotty hit and run storms and stuff. Not so much for one that was going to hit at like nighttime. That was going to stay, because it rained probably for a good 2 hours. So it was still raining after we got back to the resort and everything. So I was glad like we didn't try to like stick it out.
Yes, for sure.
But that meant I missed Splash Mountain again.
You had a different version of Splash Mountain. Running through the rain.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to your 5th park day.
Yes, this was Saturday, our Animal Kingdom day. So I've heard like Animal Kingdom generally feels hotter than the other parks. I don't know if that was true, but this day the weather felt unbearably hot, very humid, and very crowded too for a Saturday at Animal Kingdom. Like maybe that was just like my reverse psychology thinking, oh, Saturday we can do Animal Kingdom because the other parks will be busy. Maybe everyone else thought the same way, but it just felt extremely crowded for being Animal Kingdom. It's like, isn't this like one of the lesser crowded parks, or at least just in the mornings that people do Pandora and then book it out of there? But the whole time we were in there, it felt very hot, very crowded.
That's so interesting. And it's the largest park size-wise, so sometimes that helps it not feel so crowded as well. So it must have really been legitimately crowded if you could feel the crowds.
Yeah. Another early day of getting up at 6:30. I mean, the park was open, I want to say it's 7 a.m., but it was like, there's no way we're going there that early.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no need. Like,
yes.
I mean, we kind of figured we weren't going to be there all day anyway. And so this was another one, even though, like, so I didn't get Genie Plus for the day, but I did purchase the Flight of Passage. Because I was thinking, like, hearing about it, that is one of the best rides there, that we might want to do it twice, so I'll purchase it and do a DAS. So I ended up getting a 10:15 to 11:15 for it. We left at 7:30 and got there just before 8. Did pictures in front of the gate and everything. Once we got in, one of the advanced DASs I got was for Kilimanjaro Safari, but it wasn't, the time that they had given us was like 12 to 1. And so I really wanted to do it earlier in the morning when the animals are more active. So as soon as we tapped in, I did a DAS for that. And so that we could do an earlier morning one. And I was like, I'll just skip the one in the afternoon. So the first thing we did was Tough to Be a Bug. Another thing that I remembered as a kid, like being kind of scared by it. So I just wanted to see how the kids would react. And, there wasn't a wait for it or anything. So it was kind of, on the way towards the back of the park and wanted to get close to the tree to take pictures and everything. So we did that. Dylan didn't like it. He didn't like it. Tristan didn't like it either. Tristan didn't like it. It was a little different than I remember. Like the only part that I felt like was different is there's a part with like the bees that they say are like stinging you, but the screen just like went black for like 10 seconds while they were talking about the bees. And I remember like as a kid, like there was a part in the back of the seat that like poked you, like as if the bees were stinging you, and that like didn't happen at all. So I was like, I don't know, like
that just didn't work because that just didn't work for y'all because we were there in January and it poked us. So that must have glitched.
I even felt the back of the seats and I was like, I don't think it didn't even look like they were there. Like
that's interesting.
At the end of it, you could still feel them crawling under your butt on the seats, but not the stingers. I don't know.
Well, it was there in January because it poked my daughter because she was trying to avoid getting poked and she got poked.
That's what I was like leaning forward because I remember it like really jabbing you.
Uh-huh.
I was like prepared for it. Like, didn't happen. um, so we did that, then took more pictures. Like, as soon as you walk out, I had heard like a lot of people just walk out of the ride and just go through the exit line, but to stop and like turn around and you get really good pictures right there, like as soon as you walk out of the tree. So that's what we did, and spent some time there looking at the tree and taking pictures and pointing out to the kids what we could identify and everything.
That's so fun.
Yeah, we headed back to do our safari. Really enjoyed that. Probably, the kids' favorite part of the day at Animal Kingdom. Especially we got to see 3 of the lions, one male and 2 female, and heard the male roaring, so that was a highlight of that.
That's fun.
And at this point, one of the things that we were going to try to do was a competition to see who could find the most hidden Mickeys throughout our trip. And so far, none of us had found anything. Except me, but I didn't really point it out because I didn't know if it was a hidden Mickey, because at the resort, in the Nemo section, the hallways have like bubbles, and like every like 10 steps or so would be 3 bubbles in a Mickey shape. And I was like, I don't know if this is a hidden one because it's everywhere in the hallways.
Yeah.
I didn't count it. But then they made the comment that the little island with the flamingos was shaped like a Mickey and was a hidden Mickey. And so my son's like, I call it first. I was like, no, it doesn't count if they announce that it's a hidden Mickey.
Right.
So that's when like it really fueled, and Marissa and Tristan really got into trying to find hidden Mickeys.
That's such a fun thing to do at the parks. It's fun.
Yeah, well, most of us were not successful really at finding any.
Yeah, it's hard.
And got to the point where we started trying to like look it up and like to find where they were, and still couldn't even like spot them. So we did the safari. That was fun. Got some snacks on our way to head over to Pandora. So at 10:15 we did our flight of passage. Took some time with the rider switch, so about for all of us to get through was about an hour total with using the Lightning Lane. But it's just such a long walk to it and back, and the whole experience itself was long. But it was very fun. Again, Marissa got to do it first with the DAS, and she really loved it. I was, kind of hoping she would. She really liked the movie. I never really got into the movie, but, I'd heard about it. I tried to stay away from spoilers or anything, but I knew it was, you were riding on the Banshees. And so once we finally got on, and she said, she really liked how it made you feel like it was breathing and everything like that. But it took me about 10, 15 seconds of going through it, of getting to suspend the disbelief and everything, like to really get into it, enjoy it. I don't know if it's, again, because I wasn't a big fan of the movie and everything, wasn't really into it so much, so it took a little while to get into it. But once I was able to suspend that disbelief, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that was almost getting over that at the beginning.
Yeah, it's an amazing ride, and again, it has like really good smells. Yeah, that's what we always notice. Yeah, that's my oldest son. He's 16. That's his favorite ride Rise of the Resistance is his favorite. Flight of Passage is his second favorite ride at the parks.
Yeah. I think just because it took so long, which I hate to sound like that, it was so long, 1 hour, but I think just we gotten so used to the short waits that, when we had to do the rider switches and it took that long, it was like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But you can get spoiled by short waits.
I like that. To basically go through twice was still really good. So,
yeah.
We then had the advanced DAS for the Navi River journey. So we did that at 11:30. It was okay. It's just, one of the many Disney boat rides.
Yeah.
Marissa really liked it though, and that was another one where we had looked up and seen that there was supposed to be like a hidden Mickey on the what do you call her? The animatronic.
At the end.
There's supposed to be like one like on one of her legs.
Oh, that's
and so
interesting.
like that time we're like, staring, trying to look, and couldn't find it. So
That's so cool. I have to look that up.
But it was very beautiful in there, and just all like the bioluminescence and stuff. So we didn't get a chance to go back and do Flight of Passage a second time. At this point, we were getting very hungry, getting very hot, and especially with the three of us not being adventurous eaters, there wasn't really a whole lot like food-wise there at Animal Kingdom. Like Marissa probably could have ate from anywhere there because she loves trying new things and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard like Satuli Canteen was really good, but she didn't want to drag us over there just for herself to get food. So we ended up getting pizza for the boys that was nearby. And then Marissa and I headed over to Flame Tree Barbecue. She wasn't too happy with me about that, but I think just at this point, like we were just so hungry. She's like, I just want to eat.
Yeah. Yep.
It's hot. I just want to eat. So while we were eating, I booked the DAS for Expedition Everest, which again, another one of these timing things that it came back like right before our trip. So it was another roller coaster that was available for us to ride. So we were happy about that.
That's exciting because that's a good one.
Yeah, we liked it. And again, Marissa went first with Tristan, and I took Dylan over to like the little area where you can see like one of the downhills. So we tried to like watch for them, but we didn't get over there for like 5 or 10 minutes and just kept watching until like all of a sudden she's texting me like, "We're off. Where are you?" And I was like, "Well, we've been waiting, trying to see you on the ride, and here you are already off of it." And Tristan immediately tried to open his mouth to tell me about it. I'm like, I don't want to know. Just let me ride. I don't want to know.
Yep.
I already know that it goes backwards, but I don't want to know anything else.
Yep.
And like I ain't telling you them a lot of the stuff either, like because I wanted them to experience it without being spoiled. So
yeah.
Rode it. I really enjoyed that, but at this point it was about 2:00, and in the middle of the heat of the day, and we had planned on doing the nap break this day, so we went back and did the nap, and we had planned on going back because I wanted to do Festival of the Lion King. She wanted to see Pandora at night. Wanted to do the what's it called, the River Rapid ride, Cali
River Rapids.
So there's still a few things we wanted to see and do at this park, and we didn't touch Dinoland at all, knowing that Dylan would really like that part, but it was just so hot, and we decided not to go back, so we stayed at the resort for the rest of the day. So this is one of the few days we did the dinner at the resort, and it was just burgers and kind of just generic stuff, which was funny because I'd heard like good things about the Flavors of Landscape there, and so I don't know if it's just a limited menu that they had, because I had heard they had like a surf and surf burger that I knew Marissa would be into, and they didn't have that on the menu, so it was a very limited menu. I'm guessing maybe just that it's not back to their full menu from the reviews that I've heard of it.
Yeah, that kind of happened to us. We went there last March, and it's the same type of thing. I had heard such great things about it, but it was just like your typical food court. It had like chicken strips, burgers, so we weren't impressed by it either. I guess they just haven't brought back their full menu yet.
Yeah, we weren't impressed with the food. Like, I don't even think any of us really finished any of the food. Yeah,
it's just so subpar.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what you get at a value resort, but I had heard that was, one of the small reasons that I wanted to change from Pop Century, because apparently this food court was supposed to be so much better. So I don't know. So I took the advantage of the extra time at the resort to do some laundry, and just kind of dipped around in the pool and went to bed early again.
Yeah, sometimes that's just nice.
This was like the start of the decline for us. I felt like, this was the peak of how well things went, and then the weather just kept getting hotter. Which for me, like, I knew it was Florida, but thinking May like couldn't get this hot, and living in northern Ohio, like we only get maybe 4-5 weeks at the most over 90 degrees. So
oh wow,
this was different for us.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that cool up there. I'm in Texas, and it hit 100 last week, and that's rare. But yeah, it down south it gets hot. It's no joke.
I knew it would be hot, but I wasn't expecting the humidity to get where it was for May.
Yeah,
because that's why, like, when we were deciding when to go, it was like, let's go in May because schools are still in session. It's not quite summertime heat yet. And for us, it was like, with the COVID and having homeschooled for so long, and they're back in school now, but like our schools still haven't fully gotten back up. So it's like, I'm fine with pulling them out of school, but I think everybody had the same thoughts this year.
Yeah, I think
like,
so.
It doesn't matter what school schedule is.
Yep, because we went in January, and I pulled my daughter out of school, and it was crazy packed. And I was shocked. I was like, it's January. Like, who goes to Disney? A lot of people do.
Yeah. Yeah, my coworker actually had gone 2 weeks right before we did during, like, our spring break, because we always have our spring break the week after Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he came back and was like, the crowds are crazy.
It's just everyone's wanting to travel again. So I think that's just the way it's going to be for a little while.
Yeah. I get it.
But it's still fun.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So moving on to your 6th day.
So this was Sunday the 15th. This was our second Hollywood Studios day. Another hot day. Temperatures hitting 90 with the heat index reaching 98 this day. And crowds steadily getting busier and busier. So it wasn't just Toy Story and Galaxy's Edge this time. Like, you could feel the crowds everywhere in this park this day. So both of our alarms did not go off, forgetting that we had alarms set like Monday through Saturday schedule. So they just straight up didn't go off because it was Sunday. But thankfully for me, I'm always up early anyway. Mm-hmm. So we woke up about 6:45. I think we had planned to get up at like 6:15, 6:30, so it wasn't too much later.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
But it was just kind of a groggy start getting up and moving. It took about an hour for us to get out of the room. And at this point, the line for the Skyliner, if you're familiar with the layout of Pop Century, the line wrapped all the way back to the 50s section.
Yikes.
But again, I was surprised at how quickly the line moved, and it was maybe 10 to 15 minutes that it took to get onto the platform. Did purchase Genie Plus again this day. But I'd also missed my 6:58 alarm for the Lightning Lane, so I was a few minutes late on that, it still ended up being fine. Went straight for getting Toy Story Mania and got it for 8:40 to 9:40, because that was something that all of us were able to do and really enjoyed. When we got to Hollywood Studios, it was 5 after 8, so even though like we felt like we had got up and was moving slowly, we still got in only 5 minutes before the early entry started. So
yeah, I mean, y'all still did really good.
Yeah. So after we checked in, I booked a DAS for Slinky Dog. And at that point, it still only had a 15-minute return time, so we could basically walk straight to it if we wanted to and get right on. But I was still feeling kind of groggy, and as we were making our way back towards Toy Story Land, the Starbucks line was crazy long as usual, and just me, like I'm the only coffee drinker. My wife doesn't drink coffee, and I'm not even like a Starbucks person. I was just coffee is coffee to me. And saw that the draw-free stand, there was nobody there. I was like, oh, yes. So picked up some coffee from there and got some donuts and stuff. So that was definitely the sugar and caffeine we needed. um, so we were a little bit early for Toy Story Mania when we got there, because it wasn't quite 8:40 yet, and the standby was only 5 minutes anyway, so we just went through the standby line. So that second time doing it, we only waited 3 minutes, and I got 140,000 this time.
Nice.
And my son was like, "How are you doing this?" I was like, "I'm just aiming for the higher pointed plates and targets and stuff." So we went through, and then it was able to use the DAS time, so we rode it back to back.
Oh, that's fun.
Then this time I rode with the 3-year-old, with Dylan, because I was doing it with Tristan before. So I think that helped with my score, because he was, hardly hitting anything and leaving like all the targets open for me. So this time I got 181,000.
Oh, so maybe the key is to ride by yourself.
Yeah. or with somebody that isn't really shooting at the targets.
Yeah, true.
So, I kept like reaching over and helped him with it. But I mean, he held it and was pulling on it, and he was having fun. So I was like, I don't need to sit here and try to help his score. I'm gonna get mine. Right.
Well, and just watching it is fun, especially for a little kid. It's like a movie.
And again, like the cues like are just outstanding at Disney. Almost every single ride has, something to look at or enjoy. So even if you're waiting in line, you got things to look at, and even some have like different interactive things to it. Again, like I keep coming back to it, but we're so used to Cedar Point, and just every queue for every ride there is just in the sun, just back and forth bars to walk through. There's nothing to it, and it makes it miserable. So the fact that a lot of these are indoors, air conditioned, things to look at, makes waiting like not as big of an issue.
Right,
and
for sure.
That just, I think, adds to the magic of Disney World.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Let's see here. While we were on Toy Story Mania, Slinky went down, so we were given a multiple experience pass. We then headed over and went through Walt Disney Presents, and I went in and watched One Man's Dream while Marissa and the boys met Sully and got pictures with him, because I knew they probably weren't going to be interested, and I love history and learning about Walt, so I enjoyed that. So we both kind of, unfortunately after the movie, like, they kick you out into the exit. I was hoping to go back in because I didn't get to finish going through the museum, because like they kind of announced when we were about halfway through that the next show was about to start, and like the wait time for Sully was the same amount of time as the movie is. So it's like, oh, that's perfect. Mm-hmm. And I had planned on going back in, and unfortunately I never got to go finish looking through the museum, so I was kind of sad about that. But after that, we headed for Tower of Terror and let Marissa go through this time, since she didn't get to ride it the other night. She wasn't really too eager to ride it either, because she doesn't like that kind of ride that goes up and down.
Yeah, the drop ride.
And I was like, I wanted to tell her, like, it's so much more than just a drop tower.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to ruin that either for her. And she got off it. She's like, I don't like it, because it kept faking me out, thinking, like, we were going to drop. And then when we finally did, we just kept going bouncing up and down. I didn't like it. It's like, how did you not like it? That's what makes it so great.
Yes, I agree. It's so fun.
And like my son, Tristan, was fascinated how we were in an elevator, but we moved forward instead of just like up and down.
Yeah.
He's like, how did they do that? So I was like, well, I'd already watched it, but I'll have to have him watch the behind the attraction for that, so you can see how it was.
That's a great show. We loved that.
So we did that. That was at 10 a.m. So we had already done like the Toy Story stuff and Walt Disney Presents, and it was still only 10 o'clock. That took 40 minutes for us to both go through. And the posted wait time was 100 minutes. So even with going through twice, it was still an hour shorter than the standby. I did notice both days, though, that not all of the elevators were running, so that probably also slowed down how long the rides took. Because they've got, like 3 different shafts or whatever that you can get into, and they only had 2 of the 3 open.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Then we went to another advance for Rock and Roller Coaster, because when I had set up the advanced passes, I was thinking we wouldn't have time to get over to Sunset Boulevard, so that's why I scheduled the advanced ones for those 2 rides on this day. So we got to ride that again. I did take Dylan over to the Cars thing while they were going through, so he liked that. But again, this was another day where it's just getting really hot, and there wasn't much shade over in that area. At 12 o'clock, we did another Genie Plus for Mickey and Minnie's, and rode that again. And this is when the competition for Hidden Mickeys really caught on. I think this ride, of course, because it's a Mickey ride in the first place, seemed to have a lot of hidden Mickeys that we just happened to find. So the first one I found was the spotlights for the pre-show and on the ride. Like, they've got the spotlights that spin around. They're in the Mickey head shape. The pre-show, like, screen while we're waiting, when you get filled into the room first, had one, like, on the screen. It's got what looks like oriental houses and trees and stuff, and they had them, like, in the trees.
Nice.
So we spotted a couple on that one. We had to stop at guest experience to have Dylan removed off of a ride that I think I booked for him, but he couldn't ride, so he was still on it, so it wasn't letting me book something else because it was still showing him on that. So I had to get him booked off, but that was the first time having to stop at guest experience for any issues or anything. Up until that point, we had no issues with the app or booking things or anything like that, so that was good.
Yeah, you made it to, like, the end of your trip.
Then we had picked up that morning a lunch reservation for Mama Melrose. We went in there at 12:30. While we were waiting for food, booked Star Tours. Booked Star Tours just for Tristan and I, because Marissa wasn't interested in doing it again, and then did a separate one for meeting Olaf for Marissa and Dylan. So I thought it was nice too, like, if you have multiple people in your party that want to do different things, booking a Genie Plus, if you only check those people, like, the other people are still available to check something else or to book something else.
Oh, yeah.
So that was nice.
That's a great option.
So I had gotten chicken parmesan. Marissa ordered the shrimp campanelli, I think it's how you say it. Tristan got chicken parmesan as well, and Dylan had gotten penne pasta with meatball marinara. The chicken parmesan was okay, not bad, but not great. Marissa said her shrimp campanelli was really good, rated it 8 out of 10. And so that's when Tristan and I headed over to Star Tours, and that's when we had gotten the same ride that he had done with Marissa from their first day. So I was like, but still it was fun for me because I didn't see that one yet, so it was fun. Then we met back up and headed over to do Indiana Jones. We had used a Genie Plus for that after scanning in for Star Tours, but it was pretty much completely unnecessary because even though we were, like, over there 30 minutes early, they were still letting everybody in. So there was, like, no priority, like, seating or areas or being let in first. They just let everybody in at the same time.
That's interesting.
So I wasn't worried about wasting, like, a Genie Plus selection, but if, like, somebody is, contemplating it, it's not really worth it. Just get there early if you want a good seat for it.
That's good advice.
Because since we were there half an hour, we ended up sitting in the 5th row near the center, so we had really good seats. And it was also really good timing because once we sat down, it had started to rain just a little bit outside, so we were underneath the tents, shaded, fans, everything nice and cool in there. Didn't get rained on at all.
That's nice.
But it was just like a drizzle, so it wasn't bad. Really enjoyed that show. I was glad we were able to get that because we missed it that first day, and that was one of the things I really wanted to do. So by that time after the show, we had planned on going back for the nap, but there just wasn't enough time. So Tristan and I kind of split off from Marissa and Dylan so that she could try to take him to a cool shaded spot to try to get him to nap in the stroller. And Tristan and I booked a dance for Rise of the Resistance and did that again. Walked straight into the first pre-show area for it.
That's awesome.
And I guess I didn't notice. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it. That might spoil the ride.
I think it's safe to say it's been out a long time now.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? I didn't notice it the first time, but there's so you do a little pre-show with BB-8 and Rey, and then you go out to an outdoor area where there's an X-Wing and the shuttle for you to get on that the Resistance is going to take you on. And during that ride, you got the screens kind of inside of it, and it shakes around, makes you feel like you're lifting up and taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get caught by the Resistance, and it pulls you into the Star Destroyer. And then when you walk back out of that ship, you're now inside the Star Destroyer. And the first time we rode it, though, we walked into the doors, and they closed, and then you walked back out of the doors on the opposite side of it. So, it just naturally to me felt like that was just kind of the gateway into this other building.
Right.
But the second day, we walked in, but then the same doors opened back up to go inside the Star Destroyer, and it threw me through a loop. I know the ship didn't straight up leave. So did it is it on a track? Did it pull inside the mountain? Because like I said, you walk in and then back out of the different doors the first day, so it just you didn't think about it. But then when you walked in and then walked back out of the same doors, but you're in a totally different place, just threw me through a loop.
That is interesting.
It just made the ride feel that much cooler just from that little part of it. And of course, you walk in the Star Destroyer and you got the TIE fighters on the side and all the stormtroopers. My son was convinced that none of the stormtroopers were animatronic, that they were all actors, people inside of every single one of those suits.
That'd be very hard to stand that still.
Yeah, I don't think
all
so.
Day.
And again, like I said, he fancies himself a Sith, and he's the kind of person that just will say things to anyone that will. He almost feels like he's trying to embarrass me.
Kids do that.
So, part of the ride, once they trap you, is they're going to interrogate us and try to find out where the rebel base is. And so one of the officers is you guys are going to line up, we're going to interrogate you. And my son just immediately blurts out, "It's on Batuu. It's here." So the officer's "Really?" And then I have to pull you aside then and get more information out of you then. I was oh, geez.
That's great. I bet they love that, though, when people interact with them like that.
So definitely the second time made Rise feel a lot more funner.
Yeah.
Especially with my son, interacting with them just, adds to it. So after that, that was when I got to explore Galaxy's Edge more and go into all the shops and take pictures and see all the different spots and everything. On our way over to do Smuggler's Run again, this time, it was just Tristan and I. So I was let's let someone else be pilots this time because we got to choose when they came up. So we did gunners this time, and we got some other first timers in there to be pilots. So again, our flight was terrible. And I'm starting to think, like, even if you think you're good, like, I think just purposely the thing flies bad.
Yeah, probably.
But it's still fun, and got to doing it a second time. So after we got off that, Marissa and Dylan were kind of hiding in like the tunnel that leads into Galaxy's Edge. So that's where she had found to get Dylan to sleep. So they were just chilling in that tunnel.
That's a good spot.
Yeah.
Shady, fairly quiet. As quiet as you can find in Disney.
Yeah. So we had them follow us back because at 6:05 I had my reservation for Savi's. So Tristan went in with me to record the entire experience. It was amazing. The only sort of maybe complaint I would have is that you're forced to choose between 4 categories of lightsaber.
Yeah.
And, when you're looking at the picture of them, it's like, oh, well, I want a piece from this one and a piece from this one to make it, but you have to stick with that category, and you can only build off of those pieces that are in that category. So if anyone wanted to know, the categories were Peace and Justice, which were Republic-era Jedi, Elemental, using objects that were gathered from nature to make your lightsaber, Protection and Defense, which is ancient materials gathered from the Old Republic era, and Power and Control, using materials rumored to be from Sith homeworld. So I just thought it would be fun to be able to mix the different pieces from the categories together.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's really my only sort of complaint. And I understand like why they do it that way too, because they're all kind of different eras of Star Wars and completely different looking pieces, and it would look real hodgepodge to put those together.
Yeah.
And even if I could choose, I probably wouldn't have anyway, because I would have liked them to match and resemble an actual lightsaber, and not like a 4-year-old put it together. So
yeah.
So they give you, after you select, they give you a little pin that you can put on your shirt to show you which category you had chose, and then you get to keep that pin. When they bring you in and they do a whole experience with it and talk about it and everything, and that was a lot of where the extra money I think is spent, just to get to experience that. And it was very nice that they allow somebody to go in with you to record it. So I have the whole thing was 15-minute, and I have a nice 15-minute video of the whole thing. So
that's really cool.
Then you get to choose between 4 colors of kyber crystal for your blade: green, blue, purple, and red. So I went with a green crystal, and I had also chose the Protection and Defense Old Republic era lightsaber. So after building it, it's primarily silver with gold, and with the green blade. And then later I did purchase an extra yellow kyber crystal. So
that's fun.
And it was cool too, like you can change out the crystals, and it makes just igniting the blade and retracting it and swishing it around. Each crystal gives off different sound effects to it too.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't realize that until I, because I had it shipped home, so I didn't get to really play with it.
Yeah.
until we got home.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so like the green one makes the exact same sounds as Luke's lightsaber and whatnot from the movies. It has that distinct igniting sound. Just like in the movies, the red blades have a more crackle sound to them and everything. So that was nice that that's part of the saber itself.
Yeah.
So after that, we then had a 640 for the droid depot for both boys to build a droid. So Tristan chose to build a BB droid, and Dylan then did an R2 droid. So that was really cool too. They have like a little belt that goes through with all the different pieces and different colors and everything for you to collect, to build, and you take it over to the table, and somebody helps you put it all together. Once you have it built, they'll set it down in like a little pod with the controller to activate it, and then it'll come to life and light up and start beeping and bopping. And
yeah, those are so cute.
Yeah. So Dylan had done an R5 droid, I believe it is. I don't remember all the different ones are, but it's the more squared head to the droid.
Okay, yeah.
There's a white body with red accents, red arms, and then some black for the little flaps on the front and stuff. And then Tristan had done a red-bodied BB droid with a black and blue head, one that I had never seen for the BB ones, because I know like there's the dome one like BB-8, and then there's the more flattened ones that the Empire uses, or the First Order I should say uses. But this one had like what basically didn't even look like a head, just kind of looked like a gunner or laser cannon as a head. So I'd never seen that one before, but that's what he wanted. So after they built those, I went over. He purchased a personality chip for his droid to make it like they have different ones to make it higher or lower pitched, and so he got the one to make it higher pitched and make it sound like it was a Sith-owned droid. I then had paid for that all to get shipped because I knew like the lightsaber and these two droids are not fitting in our luggage.
That's really smart.
Yeah, I felt bad like they couldn't take it back to the resort and play with it. We had planned to, because they said like, oh, you can wait until your last day and just take it to the gift shop at your resort and they will ship it. So that's what we were gonna do. But after that, it started pouring, and so I did not want the stuff to get wet and ruined. So I just had it shipped. And I was surprised too. I was expecting it to be expensive because, you know, the droids and the boxes they come in are not small, and the lightsaber is nice and long. And it was only $30 to have all 3 items shipped home.
Wow, that's really good. So that's so worth it.
Yeah. Again, that was Sunday, and we got it at home the following Saturday, so it took 7 days to get home.
That's not bad.
Along with a Black Series Boba Fett helmet that I had gotten for myself.
Nice.
So that one I had shipped our last day, and that was only $17. So I'm sure it may have been even cheaper if I had done it all at once. But,
yeah.
So after the droids, we then did Oga's Cantina, and that was also an amazing experience. Felt like being in the cantina from the movie, but it was very crowded, very loud, not really ideal for small children.
Yeah.
Initially, I had it just for Tristan and I, because I could only get it for 2 people, but I later was able to get an opening for 4 just so they could go in and see it. Because Marissa and I aren't liquor drinkers, and I just have occasional beer with dinner, so we weren't really there for the drinks so much as just to see it and hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, the experience.
But we both did end up getting 1 drink each. He got the Bespin Fizz, which was like a cranberry kind of drink, and had like dry ice at the bottom, so it made it bubble up and fizz and everything. I had got the Yub Nub, which came like in a souvenir indoor mug, and it said it was $45, but like the drink itself, because it was like a pineapple orange kind of drink, I was like, well, I want the drink, but I don't want the mug. And she's like, oh yeah, you can get it. It'll come in the mug. Just don't take the mug home, and we'll just charge you for the drinks. Okay, cool.
That's nice.
So that's good to know if you see that drink and you want it and don't want to pay that much for it.
Yep.
So, the atmosphere was cool. At one point, one of the cast members was trying to like hype everyone up in there and just like doing something with his arm and getting people to shout. And so he did it for a little bit. He's like, it's not loud enough. And he ended up grabbing Tristan and having him help him do the same thing as him to get everyone to shout and everything. So he got into that with him a bit.
That's fun.
So, yeah. So when we were ready to get out of there, that's when we found out that it was thunderstorming outside while we were in Oga's. And like the weather had called for like a pop-up in the afternoon, and it never happened, and didn't say anything for the evening, so it was kind of an unexpected storm. And our stroller wasn't exactly nearby either, which had our bags, ponchos, and everything else. So
oh no.
we had to run over to the stroller and get all that. Tried to like duck for cover. It was coming down pretty hard. So once we got covered up, that's when I ran back over to the Droid Depot to get that stuff shipped so it wouldn't get soaked. And tried to like wait it out because it was showing it was only going to last for about half an hour. The only other thing I had planned for the night was to go over to the last shop that had a long line when we walked by earlier. I think it was a Don Cars Antiques or something like that. I didn't know like what was in there. I just knew that there was a long line, so I was like, well, I guess I better check it out. And so Marissa and Dylan headed for that tunnel to wait it out while we went in there, and that's when I discovered the Legacy lightsabers and did not know they had those, or else Tristan would have opted out of a droid and the plastic lightsabers to get one of those.
Yeah.
It's like, at this point, we got all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to buy almost every single one of these. We're just going to have to look.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool in there. And that's where I got the extra Kyber crystal for my lightsaber. So after that, called it for a day. It stopped raining finally. Went back. So of course the Skyliner wasn't running because there was still lightning and rain in the area. So we had to take the bus back. But that wasn't bad. It was a short bus ride. They stopped at Pop Century first and then over to Art of Animation. That night, I started feeling a little sick, runny, stuffy nose. I think it was just the rain in and out of the AC and the heat and everything.
Yeah.
So I was just feeling it a little bit when we went to bed. Started getting our bags packed up as tomorrow was our last Disney day. So I had to run our shoes and socks again through the dryer to get everything dry so I wasn't mixing it in with our clothes. So I was up until about 1:30 that night trying to get through the laundry because we just have one laundry area there at the resort, and everyone else had the same idea of getting their stuff dry, so I had to wait for an open machine. So I was up very late trying to get stuff packed up and ready for the next day.
Yep. So was that y'all's last park day, or did y'all go to another park while you were at Disney?
We had one more park day.
Where did y'all go? So, okay, so let's start at the beginning of this day. Were y'all leaving this day to go to Universal?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to pack all your stuff up and take it to like Bell Services or? Yeah.
Yeah. That was Monday, our last day. Woke up at 7:30, ate, finished getting packed. Didn't purchase Genie Plus for this day. So we left the resort and checked the bags with luggage services and took the bus to Magic Kingdom. And then we took the monorail over to the Polynesian for our 10:55 breakfast at Kona Cafe. So this was never been on the monorail before, never been over to the Contemporary or any of those.
Yeah.
So we were kind of running late. I didn't know how long it was going to take to get to Polynesian because I had planned on just like stepping off at the Contemporary just to look around and then catch the next one, just to have a few minutes to look around. But felt like we might be cutting it close, so we didn't. So then got off at Polynesian just to find out we did have 20 minutes to spare before our time.
It always happens that way. If you would have stopped, you would have been late.
Yeah. But it was fine. Like, I think we were more interested in looking around the Polynesian anyway. So we did kind of explore a little bit, walked out, looked at the pool, and walked around the gift shop and the lobby on both levels and everything. Um, the whole reason we went there was about this Tonga toast that we had heard about.
Yep.
So, um, but I do not like banana, but my wife does. So she ordered the Tonga toast. I got the macadamia nut pancakes. There were also a few other menu items that I had heard about at this place, but again, I think it was another one of these limited menu options. It's because they only really had like 4 options for breakfast.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that kind of stinks. So I don't know if just hers got overcooked, but her Tonga toast was very like hard on the outside, and like I think she was imagining like mashed up bananas inside, not literally just like a banana.
Yeah.
Like in the middle. So she was kind of disappointed with it, especially after like I had hyped up that to her.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been a little bit better if it hadn't been like a little burnt on the outside. But I'm not a huge fan of macadamia nut, but I got the pancakes and I really liked it. And so
yeah,
those
I've
were really
heard
good
those
pancakes.
are good. Yeah, I've heard those are really good.
Yeah, I was happy with them. I wanted something else that I had heard on what is it? The WDW radio. They have a breakfast review on Kona Cafe. And so one of the items they talked about was what I wanted, but they didn't have it on the menu when we were there. So we left there, finished taking the monorail, looked at the Grand Floridian, and knew that we would never afford going there, or we weren't fancy enough, we felt, to ever stay there.
It's fancy. I don't know if anyone's fancy enough to stay there, but
so at this point, Marissa had gotten some pretty nasty blisters on her feet and was struggling, so we ended up renting a wheelchair for her on this day. And then timing was not good because we had walked in right at parade time, so we were trying to squeeze through the parade crowds to get over to our advanced DAS for Splash Mountain because I was not missing it. This is our last day. We were going to Splash Mountain, so we were not doing the parade.
Yeah. Just wave as you walk by.
Yeah. But yeah, that was tough trying to get a wheelchair and the stroller through the crowded people waiting for the parade.
Yes.
But we did get on it, and Marissa again was like, it kept faking me out. I didn't realize it was such a long ride, and I kept thinking it was ready for the drop. Why didn't you tell me it was like this? I was like, because I didn't want to ruin the surprise for you.
Right.
It's just like, I would have preferred if it just went up and down. I was like, no, that's why this ride's so great, because it's so long.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted to check it out again before they retheme it. So I enjoyed it. Tristan enjoyed it. He, I guess, didn't like it so much, even though it was unbearably hot again. So
it was probably nice to get wet.
Yeah.
Cool down a little bit.
I think we were all whooped this day. It was very hot. We were very tired. And it was extremely crowded this day too. Like you could barely walk, just in that area we were at. So it's like, well, we're hot. We need to get out of the sun. So we popped into Country Bear Jamboree, and I was like, I know about this thing. Let's see what they say about it. I find it hilarious how loud like the blinking is of the animals and stuff, like on the walls. It's like you can hear the motors running to get those things to blink.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's old, very old.
We got off and we got out of there, and Tristan was like, "What was that?"
He's never gonna forget it though.
So while we were in there, I mobile ordered Sleepy Hollow again because this time I wanted to try the spicy sweet chicken waffle sandwich, and I thought it was really good. the slaw this time was made out of like lettuce, kale, and Brussels sprouts, and I thought it all paired really well together. Um, and then so I had grabbed that, and then we went over to Columbia Harbor House for Marissa and the boys, and she got a lobster roll and then chicken strips for the boys. But then she said it was just okay. Like again, this was like parade time, and there weren't any seats inside really in the AC. So and the only table that we got outside was one that didn't have an umbrella. So we were just sitting in the
Mm,
sun, basking in the
hot.
heat, trying to eat, and it was
Yeah.
just kind of miserable. Um, and really just nothing else much happened that day. We kind of just like wandered around. We hit up Philhar Magic again because we liked that show and just wanted to be in the AC,
Mm-hmm.
and headed back to the bus. We had scheduled for through Universal Transportation to meet us at the resort at 5 o'clock to pick us up and take us over to our new hotel. So at that point, that was the end of our Disney portion of the trip. Um, Overall, it was amazing. We loved it. We had a lot of fun, a lot of great memories that I will cherish forever of the kids and my wife. There were, a few moments and times where I let situations or the weather get to the best of me, but if there was anything I would change about it, or if we go again, it would probably just be a shorter trip, or at least give us a shorter park days and more resort days. Um, I was just we were all planning this was under the impression this is our once in our lifetime, one time only trip. So I wanted to make it long so that we could do everything and just bit off more than we could chew, I think. Um, if we had, a day or two to rest in between or made sure that we always got those afternoon breaks, maybe it would have been different. Or if it didn't get so hot there at the end of the trip, it wouldn't have been so miserable. Plus, my wife was really struggling there towards the end. And it did not help getting all those blisters on her feet. I felt so bad for her. So she really couldn't even walk and had to be in the wheelchair for the last day. And then in that heat, trying to have my son push the stroller and push the wheelchair got to us that last day. Um, but that's probably the only thing I would change about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I think Disney works is there's some really high highs, but everyone has those low lows and at some point, even the most like easy-go-lucky person is going to get irritated or lose it about something.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast with being at a theme park type vacation with tons of people and unpredictable weather. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Like I said, even though I'm used to walking all day, every day, it even got to me. So it's
Yeah.
like, if it got to me, that's when it really hit me. Oh man, how bad are the rest of them feeling?
Right. Yeah. There's no tired like Disney tired.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. When we come home from vacation, my mom's like, y'all just were on vacation. I'm like, but it's not like the vacation you're thinking of. Like, we still need to rest.
Yeah, I'm so glad that so we got home this past Friday, and I've had a nice 3 days to just sit at home and relax
Yeah.
before going back to work because I need it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so I always ask everyone, what was your we'll do least. What was your least magical moment of the trip?
For just the Disney portion, the least magical part for me specifically was that first morning of not getting that booked time because I didn't have Genie Plus and just freaking out. And then it did kind of gather through the rest of the trip. When it comes to the Genie Plus, like I feel like you're on your phone a lot and you're tied to these like 1 hour time frames. And if you pick something, It didn't happen to me a lot, but I've heard it happens to a lot of people where you'll select something where it'll give you a time, but by the time you go through the booking process, it could be a completely different time that you'll end up with. And it's either you take it or leave it. And, you're always like feeling like you have to plan your day around these 1 hour time frames that you get. And that's why like the DAS worked for us. It was just a time, and you could come anytime after that time. Like you weren't restricted to a 1 hour time frame. And so I feel like with Disney, that was probably the least magical thing, was just trying, like, if you don't want to wait for wait times and do the lightning lanes, you have to rely on the system. And so is the majority of everyone else. And so, your vacation should be how you want it and at the pace you want, and not, oh, I have to go here and here and here at this time, and this time.
Yeah. So what was your most magical moment?
Our most magical was the Harmonia show. Just watching the kids watch the show. Like, I probably only watched half of the show because I was watching my kids' faces the rest of the time. And, my wife too, like, she was like, this was amazing. Like, this was the coolest show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's just the music, the lights, everything about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I know the fireworks shows always get me. I always watch my kids watch them. It's like fun. Yeah. It's more fun for me to see them watching the show.
Yeah.
It's special.
A close second was the first time we met Mickey, watching my son jump out of his stroller and run up to him.
That's
and
so
knowing
cute.
Like if this trip had been 2 weeks earlier, we would have had to lock him into that stroller because we knew he would have jumped out and ran to him, and they wouldn't have allowed it. So
yeah, that's so sweet.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I loved hearing about your trip. I think your trip is the longest one I have ever recorded. So, yay.
I took a lot of notes, I guess. Sorry to hold you up for so long.
No, it was wonderful. I love talking Disney. It's always fun. Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure to check out our Instagram page at Disney Travel Tales to see lots of pictures from Josh's trip. Next week, I will be back with a brand new episode, and this one is all about Universal. I've never done a Universal only episode, and I have to say I really loved this interview. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss a new episode. Also, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a positive review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. This is the easiest and best way to support the show. Until next time, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.